Hi everybody, and welcome to day 4 already of your masterclass. That's crazy, right? Time flies. And today's about law of attraction and how to manifest. And today is a great day, right? It's a really good day. Now think of something that was good about your day already, or maybe you can even think of 2 or 3 things. What was good about today? Think about that one. So welcome, and it's awesome to see you here again. Good for you. You did it again. Now, are you starting to feel some things shifting? Maybe your thinking starting to change a little bit. Maybe you're starting to look at things with a different perspective, because I bet we did get you thinking. And if you are doing your worksheets, then for sure something is happening inside of you, right? So we talked about goals and what it is that you truly want and what, why goals are important and how to set them. We then talked on day 2 about habits and self-image and how paradigms will hold you back and how you can break through that. And yesterday was all about a couple of massive paradigms, time and money. Okay, so remember that we talked about the law of cause and effect a few times. So that means that every action has a reaction. So that means that everything you put out must come back to you from one source or another. So we are putting something out there, and we would call that our vibration, our frequency, maybe call it broadcasting. And then we attract something back to us. And what we're attracting back to us is on the same frequency that we're broadcasting on. Okay? So that means that when you feel good, you will attract more good. Like attracts like. So we'll give a couple of examples on the negative and on the positive of that a little bit later in the session today. So what is the law of attraction and how does it actually work? Well, it sounds really simple, right? You just need to attract what you want and that's it. But how the hell do you do it? So first of all, let's talk about laws. So a law is something that is applicable to everyone, every time, for everything. And there are lots of scientific, universal, natural laws at play all the time. Now, I've said this before, success is really not luck and it's really not a secret. It is a system, and it's a system that's based on understanding how these scientific, universal, natural laws work. And we're actually very familiar with one of them, which is the law of gravity, right? So we all fully understand that it's there. We accept it as it is, we understand it, and we work with it. So we apply it to work in our favor, right? And we are in harmony with that law of gravity. So for instance, you know that if you learn this from being very little, right? You know, if you throw a ball up in the air, that's going to come back down again. And because we know that, we're able to build houses, or the buildings, we're able to drive our cars, we're able to cycle, we're even able to fly. So we're able to do and live in this world in a way because we understand and we use and apply in the right way that law of gravity. And we totally trust it, right? Like we don't worry that one day gravity is going to disappear, do we? Can you imagine? That would be funny, wouldn't it? Everybody start floating around. But we sort of trust that it's going to be there and that it's going to be there and we're going to keep working in harmony with it. So we know how to work it in our favor, and so we do. Now, there are lots of other laws that we are less familiar with, but they're just as strong and just as applicable as this law of gravity. And in fact, some of them, we probably don't even know that they exist, right? We don't realize that they are in existence and that we are subconsciously, unconsciously, I should say, working with them because they're in play like the law of gravity. All these laws are in play all the time. But because we don't either know that they exist or we don't work in harmony with them, we can't make them work for us, right? So let's explore there are some people say 7, some people say 9, some people say 11. I say there are 7, main universal laws, and then there are sort of sub laws under that. So I'm just going to cover just a small few of those. So law of polarity. I think I've mentioned this one in one of the days before. So that the law of polarity dictates that everything has an equal opposite, right? So no in without out, no up without down, no hot without cold, and so on. And it also means that where there is bad, there is good. And where there is good, there is bad. Where there is a negative, there is a positive. And where there is a positive, there is a negative, right? So we learn to choose here to look for the positive, for the good in everything. We don't allow the bad or the negative to take up our airtime. So and I said this before, what really sort of hit home for me and was really an eye-opener for me was the fact that because of this law of polarity, when I or you are thinking about this great idea, this want that we have, this desire that we have, this thing that we really want to do or have or be, by the law of polarity, almost immediately, the doubt has to come in. The negative pole of that has to come in, right? So but that's natural. That's the law of polarity operating. And so when we know that, we can just choose to focus on the positive of it, right? On the good of it. That, like I said, that was such an eye-opener for me, because I realized that the negative isn't true. It's only going to be true if I start to make it true. So if I start focusing on the positive and the how can I do it rather than the why I can't do it, then it's going to happen, right? And I feel way better when I'm thinking like that anyway. So it also means that any challenge or any problem has a learning opportunity in it. And what you could say is that the bigger the challenge or the bigger the problem, the more you're going to learn from it and the bigger the opportunity is, right? So some people say little challenges are a little bit boring. So a big challenge is going to give you a massive learning opportunity, and it's going to give you a big, big opportunity too. You just got to choose to look for it. And then we've got the law of cause and effect, and we did talk a lot about this, right? So every action you take causes a reaction, and you've got to make sure that you're taking the right action, right? And what we mean by right action means the most productive and effective action you can take to get you to your goal as quickly as possible. And that right action means that it has to come from the right mindset, right? Because actually, all our results, all our successes or non-successes are based on 95% mindset and 5% strategy and action, right? But even though it's just 5%, you have to take the action. You must take an action to get a reaction, a result. If you don't take any action, you're not going to get a reaction, right? And you're not going to get a result. So first priority, the first action to take is to get your mindset right, is to start exploring those paradigms that are holding you back, those belief systems, those conditionings that are not really true, but that we have taught ourselves to believe to be true, right? So work on those and get that right. So create some new beliefs, a new self-image, and then the most productive action will follow from that. Now, there's another law, law of rhythm. And we're not really very familiar with this law. The way I always sort of try and explain it is look at the sea and look at the ebb and flow. So it's a natural law that everything ebbs and flows, everything sort of moves, everything has a rhythm. Now, look at yourself and look at your energy levels. You have a rhythm yourself, right? And different people have different energy levels in different times of the day. So some people have really high energy levels in the morning, right? And some people are really energetic in the evening. So ask yourself, in which parts of the day do you have the most energy, right? And when you start to understand that, you can start to work with that, right? So if you need to do things that take a lot of energy, then plan those in your day to do them when you are naturally having more energy, right? So my brain works best early in the morning and late at night. So if I need to do something that's going to take brain power, if I plan to do that midday, it's going to take me ages because my energy levels and my sort of focus isn't there. So what I do is I plan to do these things when I know that my brain and my energy levels are sort of in line with that. So work in harmony with that, and you'll find that whatever you do comes way easier, it's way more effortless, right? Because you're doing it at the times that naturally it fits with your rhythm. So what I also always say is this is really why I feel it's really important to allow flexibility for people in your business, for instance, because they have their own rhythm. Not everybody works to the same rhythm. So allow them to plan their day in harmony with their natural rhythm, right? Because they'll be happier, they'll feel better, they'll be way more productive and way more effective. So why not? Because that helps your profits, right? And then, the other thing that's a big example is kids at school. All kids are different, and their energy levels are different, and their focus times of the day are different. And so that's why one type of education doesn't suit all kids. And that's why some kids do well, because the type of education suits them. And excuse me, why other kids don't do so well, because the way that they're being taught, it doesn't fit with who they are. And that law of rhythm also applies when we have what I call up or down days, right? So some days we feel better than others, right? That's just how it is. So accept it. And it's natural. So just let it be. Don't beat yourself up about it if you've got the odd, down day. Quite normal. Now, if you're depressed all the time, that's a whole different story, right? But if you're, doing okay, and then every now and again you've got a bit of a dip day, well, who cares? Go and enjoy it. Sometimes when I feel pissed off about something and I don't even know why, nothing in particular, I just go, okay, well, I'm going to go and read a book, or I'm going to go and do something that makes me feel good, or I'm just going to sit there and swear for a couple of minutes. And guess what? Within no time, I feel great again. So it is natural to have up and downs. Totally natural. Don't beat yourself up about it. Okay. And then there is the law of relativity. So everything is relative, right? Now, an example would be compare a cat with an elephant. So when you compare the cat with the cat is small, right? When you compare the cat with an ant, the cat is big. So is the cat big or small? It's only big or small relative to something else. So the same applies when you feel, for instance, overwhelmed or too busy. So if you learn to break that down into little pieces, into little steps, and then you teach yourself to take one step at a time, you never need to be overwhelmed anymore. You never need to feel too busy anymore. Maybe when you think of a sum of money, you might think that's a lot of money. So break it down, because, $1,000 compared to $1 million, 1,000 doesn't sound a lot, right? But 1 million compared to 1,000 sounds probably a bit more. Okay, but so to give this as an example, so $10,000 might seem like a lot of money. But if you break it down and you go, okay, well, 10 times 1,000, that sounds less, right? Or 100 times 100 already seems way smaller. And then what we do is we start working on the first 100, because that doesn't feel so overwhelming. So everything is relative, and break it down into little pieces so that it feels better and it feels more manageable for you. Now, the other thing is in this law is that what we tend to do, actually, we do tend to, and we're taught this from a very early age, right? We compare ourselves with others. And the problem with that is that there is always somebody who's going to be better off than you, or who's going to be better at something than you. And there's always going to be somebody who's worse off than you, and someone who isn't as good as you at something, right? And what we tend to do is we tend to allow our feelings about something to be dictated depending on what we compare ourselves with, right? So stop it. Don't compare and don't compete. You're here to create. You are unique. You're perfect. Everybody in their own way is already perfect. In fact, you're awesome, right? And so be you, be your authentic self, because you are the best at being you. You're not so good at being somebody else. You're the best at being you. So make sure that you create. And you'll find that truly successful people, and when we say successful, that's not just about money. That's about health. That's about relationships. That's about living the life you want to live. That's about being happy. Okay, so the truly successful people, they do not compete. They create. Now, what they may do is they may look at something or somebody and go, I quite like that. Or that's a good idea. And then they sort of copy it, or they take inspiration from it, I should say. And then you create your own version of that. So you are always, always creating. You're always creating from you, from your own, who you are, and create your own version. Okay, so let's get into it. The law of attraction. Now, the law of attraction And a lot of people talk about it a lot, right? But it is actually a secondary law, because the primary law is the law of vibration. And that law dictates that everything is always moving, and everything moves at a different speed all the time. Nothing is still, right? If you remember your science class and you look through the microscope, everything's moving, right? And we are basically a molecular structure in a high speed of vibration. Everything vibrates. Now think of a tree and a twig, and think of a log that you use to burn in your fire, maybe paper, cardboard, a wooden table, a wooden chair. It's all the same essence, right? But it just vibrates at a different speed. So it becomes something different when it becomes tangible because of the way that it's vibrating. Okay, so on day 2, we talked about the conscious and the subconscious mind, and how your thoughts dictate your feelings, create your beliefs, your paradigms, and how those beliefs and paradigms control your actions. And those actions cause a reaction, your results. So you could say that your thoughts and your feelings and your body, your actions, operate on a specific frequency. Now, we're familiar with frequencies, right? So if I want to call my sister, I dial her number and she answers the phone. But if I changed even just one of the digits in her phone number, then a perfect stranger would answer the phone, right? So I've got to dial the number that's on her frequency. If I want to talk to my friend, I've got to dial the number that's on their frequency. Okay? And it's a bit like when you dial into a radio station. So you may be listening in the UK. We've got a radio station called Rock FM, and I don't know what frequency it's on, but imagine that it's on Rock on 107.4 FM, right? So I'm listening to that, and I'm thinking, I'd like to maybe tune into some classical music. And the classical music is on 68 AM. So what I do is I start adjusting. I'm old, right? So there's the old-fashioned way of dialing or I change the frequency. So I change in my car, I'll click a different button and it goes onto a different frequency. And so now I'm not listening to 107.4 FM, I am on 68 AM and I'm listening to the classical music. But guess what? They didn't just start broadcasting that classical music. And Rock FM didn't stop broadcasting the rock music they were playing, right? So the classical channel on 68 AM was already been broadcasting for years, right? The thing is that I just tuned into it. So now because I tuned into it, I tuned into that frequency, I can experience it. Make sense? So it's really the same with everything, and we'll all have had these experiences. Like, I don't know, when you decide that you want a new car, and all of a sudden you see that car everywhere. You never saw it before, but all of a sudden you see that car everywhere, right? Or when I was pregnant with Connor, God, it was 20 years ago now. All of a sudden I saw babies everywhere, and I saw prams everywhere, and I saw baby stuff everywhere, and I read saw articles in the newspapers and in the magazines about babies, and I'd never registered them before. Now they were there, but I just wasn't tuning into them. I only tuned into them when they became relevant to me, right? When I started to tell myself a story about having a baby, and obviously about the baby. So nothing is created or destroyed. Everything that ever was and everything that ever will be is already here. And all we need to do is to tap into it, is to get on the frequency of it. So you have to get onto the frequency of what you want. So your thoughts are electric. They send out a message. And your feelings are magnetic. They are what will attract things to you. So when you think about what you want, for instance, your goal, you need to really awaken that feeling of that wish fulfilled inside of you, because that's what's going to attract it to you, right? So you have to feel as if you're already in possession of what you want. And then you start operating from that frequency. Because what you would ask yourself as well, that the person that I will be with my goal achieved, How would I think about this? How would I feel about this? What would I be doing in this situation? Okay. Now, an example would be, say you're setting up in business and you don't have a lot of clients, and then you need clients, right? And then someone you thought was going to buy something from you pulls out. And you really feel really down, right? And you think, oh my God, what happened? And why aren't they buying? And oh my God, I'm going to pay my next bill and all of that, right? So you sort of allow that occasion of someone pulling out to completely dictate your thoughts, right? And you start to get worried and you start to get anxious. And guess what? You attract what you think about, right? You become what you think about. So you're going to attract more of that. And so think about it. If you are the person with your goal achieved, right? So you've built your business, you've got a successful business. Now, you, as the person with a successful business, you wouldn't be concerned about someone pulling out and not buying at all. You just go, okay, well, next, plenty more customers. It just wouldn't bother you at all. And you wouldn't entertain any negative thoughts about that, right? And guess what? Because you're not entertaining the negative thought, not more negativity can come to you. So it's really, really important that you allow yourself to feel as if you already have achieved your goal, or as if your wish is already fulfilled, because that feeling is going to attract it to you. Now, we say like attracts like, right? And a lot of people say it, maybe don't even really know what that means, but it does. Like attracts like, right? And so here is an example on the negative pole of that. Now, there's some different people say different things, different scientists say different things. So Abraham Hicks, for one, says, if you think about something, if you think a thought for 16 seconds or for more than 16 seconds, you're going to attract a like thought to you. Okay, so I'll give you an example of a negative spin on this. So maybe you have a partner, and your partner doesn't put the lid on the toothpaste, right? So I'll say he because, if I had a partner, it would be a he, but it could be a she or a there. Okay, so my partner, he's gone to work. I go walking to the bathroom. He hasn't put the lid on the toothpaste again. Oh my God, he always does this. I'm so pissed off with this. Every time he doesn't. And look at that, And yesterday, God, again, he didn't put his socks in the washing baskets. In fact, he never puts his socks in the washing baskets. Oh my God, I'm so sick of this. He never does any washing. I'm always the one left to do the washing. Oh, and last week when we were arguing about such and such a thing, he hadn't put the bins out. He hadn't put the bins out. Oh my God, he's doing my head in this freaking toothpaste. And last year, well, remember that time when we were out that time last year and this and that happened and it really pissed me off then. Okay, so can you see how you're telling you're allowing yourself to get involved in one negative thought for long enough, and then more negative thoughts are attracted and come into it. Now, by the time you're finished with that rant, you're probably ready for a divorce, right? Or not quite, but you ain't feeling good about your partner. So just imagine when you've allowed yourself that feeling, that negative rant, when your partner walks through the door, guess how you're going to act and behave, and guess how you're going to approach them, right? And then, law of cause and effect, action, reaction, then guess what? What reaction are you going to get back? Because you've got yourself in that negative state, you're projecting that, and you're going to get something back on the same frequency, right? Now, let's do it the other way around. Look at the positive. So walking into the bathroom and the lid isn't on the toothpaste. So I could go, oh, lid isn't on the toothpaste. Well, he probably forgot it. It could have been me, but he probably forgot again. But, if it's important to me, I can do it. It's not a biggie, not a biggie. I do actually like him. He makes me laugh and he looks after me. And when he buys me a present, he always buys me something really good. He's very thoughtful. And, actually, he does put the bins out every week, whether it's rain or shine, no matter the weather, he puts those bins out and he brings them back in. And actually, when he makes an effort, he looks quite dishy. He's quite attractive, quite like him. He's just a nice guy. He's got a lovely family. He's a great dad. Kids love him. He's really good with other people, very sociable guy. I can take him anywhere, really. Yeah, I do really like him. Whole different story, right? So now guess what? When he walks through the door now, and I've had that, rampage of appreciation, if you like, guess what? I'm going to behave in a different way. I'm going to approach him in a different way. And he's going to give me a completely different reaction, right? Happy days. So it's really, really important to be careful what way you're going, right? What thoughts are you allowing? So what we really need to do when we talk about law of attraction is actually concern ourselves with our vibration. So it's the law of vibration that we want to be concerned about, because the law of vibration sort of kickstarts the law of attraction, right? So it's our vibration, our feeling, that attracts things to us. So how does it feel when you would be at your goal? When you're at your goal, how do you feel? How do you feel every day when you're at your goal? What would you be doing? Right? What would your day look like? Give that some serious thoughts and start fantasizing about that. So just start imagining, well, if I had my goal achieved, once you've determined your goal, of course, this is what I would do. This is what my day, my week, my year would look like. It'll get you to feel really good. And then allow yourself to imagine that constantly throughout your day. And every time a negative thought comes up about something, just go and imagine that, because it feels way better, right? Because there's that basic truth that we become what we think about. In fact, we become what we feel about. So if you're not getting the results that you want, it just means that you're operating on the wrong frequency, right? You're sending out a signal on the wrong frequency. So to get yourself on the frequency of what you want, you've just got to adjust your thoughts, because those thoughts will create the feeling and beliefs, dictate and control your actions, behavior, and that creates your results. Right? And that's what my training actually does. It explains how to get onto that frequency of your goal and how to stay there, right? And how to sustain it. And then for sure, whatever result you want, so whatever goal you want, it has to manifest, right? It can't not manifest, because it works by law. We attract what we think and feel about. So now that you understand that your thoughts create your feelings, and that they will attract, your feelings attract to you what you want through your actions, you have, again, to be very strict in what thoughts you allow. Remember the example we gave the other day about your subconscious mind being like the earth and your thoughts being like the seed. So whatever you plant in the earth, or whatever thoughts you plant into your subconscious mind and give them airtime and give them energy and give them nurture, that will grow. So what are you growing in your subconscious mind? Something positive or something negative? And I love this saying, because we tend to say, seeing is believing. I'll believe it. Believing it. I'll get this the right way around. Put my teeth in. Seeing is believing. So I'll believe it when I see it. But it's the other way around, actually. It is believing is seeing. When you believe it, you're going to see it. So really quite simple. You've got to be crystal clear on what you want. Because you wouldn't go to Amazon and order a book from Amazon, would you? You'd be really specific. You would specify the author. You'd specify the title of the book. You may even specify a certain edition. And you'd specify the price, right? So you're very specific. Same thing with your order for your goal. So you've got to identify it, and then you've got to be very specific about what you want. So maybe this could be with how much do you want to weigh? Or how do you want to look exactly? Or how many hours do you want to work? Or what work do you really want to do? And maybe how much money do you really want? You've got to be very specific, because we would say, a lot of people say, I just want more money, right? If you found a penny on the street, you'd have more money, right? But that is not what you mean. So you've got to be specific. And, a lot of us say, I just want to work less hours, right? So if you work 10 minutes less, or a half an hour less this week, you've worked less hours, right? But that is not what you mean. So you've got to be very, very specific, because then the universe can give you that result back, because now it knows what you want. And actually in my Thinking into Results program, we really get into that, and we do become very specific. And sometimes it's quite hard to be specific because we haven't given it so much thought, right? So for sure, this will get you thinking, and this will get you really identifying what is it that you want, what's the kind of life that you really want to be looking back on, and then how do we get you to achieve that? And yeah, I just love this stuff. So, you know, when you really understand this, you will absolutely start to attract everything that you need and everything that you want. You really will, because now you understand how to work with those laws and how to attract things to you, right? And so it's important that you feel good, because when you feel good, you're going to attract more good. You're on a positive frequency, on a positive vibration, and you're going to attract positive things back to you. So, you know how we talked about all these other laws, and there are many more. Well, when you understand those and you can work in harmony with those laws, that's going to help you to keep feeling good, right? It's going to help you to keep your frequency, your vibration up there. And actually, it's lesson 5 of my program. We talk about your 6 mental muscles. So we all know we've got physical muscles, but we actually have 6 mental muscles. And it's developing those. And one of them, for instance, is imagination. Another one is reason. Perception is one of them. Intuition, and a few more. So when you train those, that actually allows you to stay in charge of you. No matter what's going on around you, you're learning to respond to it rather than react to it, because by learning to do that, you keep up that vibration. And guess what? The better your vibration, the better the things are that you're going to attract to yourself. Now, we mentioned before, it's really important to make a decision, because once you've made a decision, everything you need will then come to you. All the resources you might need, all the ideas you might need, it will all come to you. But you have to make a committed decision first. And like I said, you know, success is a system. So you follow the system, and you work in harmony with those laws, and you'll absolutely achieve whatever you want to achieve. All right. So I want you to close your eyes again, if you can, if you're not driving, if it's safe, and if you feel comfortable. And now imagine how you would feel if you achieved your goal. So imagine it's possible, and you're going to achieve that goal. And now you are at your goal. You've achieved it. How do you feel? Now, weirdly enough, for some of you, some negative thoughts might come up here, right? Some negative feelings might come up, like, well, nobody will love me. I won't know what to do with myself. You know, if I want to only work 15 hours a week, but I don't really know what I'm going to do with all the rest of the time. Or maybe, you know, if I get the money that I want, if I'm, you know, money wealthy, rich, then my friends won't like me anymore. My family won't like me anymore. Okay. Or I want to do this, but my family won't support me, and it'll be very difficult for me. Okay. So explore that, right? Because those beliefs are there, and nothing is good or bad. And really, anything that comes up, even the negative stuff, is just something that you've got to work through, something you've got to deal with, and something you've got to resolve for yourself, so that you become more of that person with the goal achieved, right? That's why these obstacles come on our way, because it's going to turn us into the person that we need to be to have that goal. Anyway, so play around with that one, right? And then message me if you want to have a session to go through that. I love those sessions, because it's such an eye opener for everybody. And the thing is that if you feel actually deep down, subconsciously feel negative about your goal, or you're worried about what might happen if you achieved it, then you are not going to manifest it, right? So it's really important that you explore those beliefs. Anyway, tomorrow we're going to talk about attitude and gratitude, and that is pure magic, right? And I'll also explain a bit more about my training program towards the end of that session tomorrow. And I was going to do an announcement on Wednesday, but I think I totally forgot. So normally my program is I work with you for 6 months, but I find that I like working with people for 9 months. So what I'm going to do is going to give you the sort of 3 months free if you decide to come and work with me, and we'll work together for 9 months. And just think, you know, you've had a couple of hours in total up to now, sort of getting a bit of an understanding of this material, right? And I can say that I love this stuff, and it's absolutely freaking awesome, because I didn't make it up, right? I've just learned about it over my many years of living this life, and I absolutely love it, and it makes such complete sense. And You know, anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. And, you know, just after a couple of hours here on these masterclasses, I'm sure things are already starting to shift a little bit for you. So imagine where you'd be in 9 months' time, right? Now, remember to do your workbook exercises. And most importantly, have fun with it. And I'll see you tomorrow. Really looking forward to it. See you later.